Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've got something which I think is quite exciting to share with you today. I've been making these folios on and off for a couple of weeks now, and I finally get to share them with you today. Before I start, can I say a massive, absolutely massive thank you and shout out to Suzy of Shabby Soul. Her work is absolutely phenomenal, and I saw the folios that she had made in her Instagram stream a while ago, and I've been absolutely beside myself wanting to make these for ages now. And I decided a couple of weeks ago that I would start making them. So I've been making these on and off for a couple of weeks, and I have made more than you see here. But I listed them this afternoon in my Etsy shop, and some of them have gone already, even before I could make the YouTube video. So apologies for those. But at the moment, as it stands, these are what I have available. What I plan to do is do a quick run through of probably these two, because they're slightly different from these three. So I think what I will do is I'll do these in a separate video. But let me say before I start that each of the folios come with one of these envelopes that you saw me make in a tutorial a couple of videos back, and I'll put the link down below in the description. As you can see, some of them have got a lovely piece of dry fern in them, which this is fern out of my garden that I've dried, and I trapped it between the layers. And some of them have the ones you will have seen me make on the tutorial. Oh, I've got a bit of sari thread caught on that one. Sorry about that. You will have seen these ones that I did on the tutorial, where I used that small piece of really antique vintage lace and trapped it. So some will come with the fern, and some will come with the lace. So it depends which of the folios you go for. So please look in the description on the listing as to whether it comes with the lace or the fern. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these three to one side like so, and I'm going to concentrate on these two in this first video. So I'm going to start with this one first, and this one has a fern envelope with it, so that goes to one side. This is what the folio looks like. They measure, and true to form, I haven't got a ruler out, I think it's round about 8 by 5, but let me just do that for you. So that's 8 inches, yeah, by 5.5. So that equates to 21 centimeters by about 14.5 centimeters in size. They're all made with 49 and market vintage artistry papers. These two that I'm showing in this video have been made with the ledger papers. They have a removable bulldog clip on the side, which is or has been enamelled, and this folio is number 5, and it has a ranger token saying number 5 on it, and also it has a metal story. I think these are word or story labels, also metal and also ranger, and they're on a ball pin, a ball chain. It has a basic ivory sari silk closure and a metal button on the front. It has some contemporary lace on this one, and it also has this paper clip that comes off on the side. The whole idea behind these folios was that you could either use them to store your ephemera inside, or take them away as travelling cases when you go away and you want to do your journaling whilst you're away, or use the actual folio cover as the cover for your next journal. And you'll see what I mean when I get inside. So flipping this one over, there is a vintage doily or fabric pocket on the back here, and this little notebook fits inside that pocket like so. So let me quickly go through the notebook with you. All the papers, regardless of whether it's the folios in this video or in the next one, they're all 49 and market, and the papers for each folio coordinate all the way through. So this is a little 3-hole pamphlet notebook that I've stitched round. There's a vintage button on the front. There is a frame inside with a couple of pieces of ephemera. You might recognise the inside, because these were the off-cut pieces from when I made these envelopes. And if you remember, I said, oh, I've got an idea of what I can do with these pieces. Well, here they are. But what I did was I left the insides collaged with the sewing pattern tissue paper, and the outside I covered with the 49 and market ledger paper. As you can see there, it's a very what I call raggedy, torn edge notebook. There's bits of fabric, bits of tea stained paper, book pages. This is a vintage French dictionary page. Isn't it gorgeous? How tiny is that? Mini whale tail tabs, and that opens up like so, and this is a Ranger disc inside. Some music paper with another bit of lace, one of the little pressed stud flowers and some lace there, and then this just pulls open like so, and it's ledger paper inside, a little bit of collaging there. Is a bead on a coiler safety pin with some vintage lace. That's a snippet of the lace that came from the inside of these envelopes when I did the lace fronts to them. Some more stamping there, a little bit of a lace snippet and a vintage button there. This one pulls out like so, and then on the other side it looks like that. Some Ranger film strip through an eyelet there, and then this is like a little flip, a couple of pages, so there's some stamping there. There's this tiny little envelope here which I've popped on the edge of the page with a Ranger paper clip. There's nothing inside this one. Some of them have things inside, some don't, depending on what I was doing at the time, really, if I'm absolutely honest. So there's nothing inside that one. So that's like a little mini notebook there. More of the vocab page, dictionary page. Little collage there, little pocket in the back with some ephemera pieces in there. So that's the little book that will go inside there. And then if I turn her over to the front and open her up for you, there we go, and this is what she looks like inside. So at the top here we've got a couple of little playing cards that I've backed with tea stain paper and a little tag that I've made, and then they go in this little half pocket just here. Oops, a daisy, like so. And there's a couple of tags in this pocket on that side, and then a couple of tags on this side, and there's just a little label there. The idea really is Nothing is overly embellished in here. It's more like an ephemera folder. The idea is for you to use the bits and bobs to create your own journal. Here I have one of the Tim Holtz, I'm not sure what these are called. I think they're stitched pockets with lots and lots of bits of ephemera in. I've crocheted these little flowers and glued them on. This is just some lace on here. And then there's a couple of French flashcards that also go in that pocket. And there is one of these long fabric paper clips that have lace and stamp fabric and eyelash trim and book page, and that I've just clipped on the front there for somewhere to put it, to be honest. This opens out. Here there are a couple of these Tim Holtz transparencies. There's a T and a P in that one, and they just slot in behind that moth there. There is a little pocket here, and there's a little journaling card that fits in that pocket, and there is also this little handmade envelope that I made with a moth on the front, and that just sits in that pocket at the side there. Okay, can I take you, rather than go through this centre portion, I'm just going to take you down to the bottom now. Here is a image that is from Amity Bloom, and I just printed it out. There's a little tasselled coilless paper clip here with some linen behind. There's a little tiny envelope at the bottom here, another one of those transparencies. I'm not sure if you're going to pick that up on the camera. There you go, you can just see it, that I've glued in place. Then this little envelope, and it's got a tiny little ticket inside and a little tiny stamp inside, like so. And it just closes behind that little trim of lace there. And then this is one of the transparencies that I've stitched round just to give it a bit more interest. There's a piece of ephemera from the kit, and then there's this little tiny little booklet that I made with some ephemera pieces inside, and that was from an old label of not quite sure what it came with. I think it was some buttons, but I just thought it was seriously cute and wanted to use it. So this flips open. There's a vellum pocket here, or a glassine pocket. And if you've been looking at my Instagram, I made a couple of these, I don't know what they're called, raggedy snippet things with a collage, stitched collage of book pages and laces. And then I did a little bit of slow stitching on it, doing some colonial knots, and that just goes in the pocket. So the idea with this is that you could use that as a side tuck in your journal, or you could use it as a pocket or something. They're all backed with tea stained paper. Here I've just put in a piece of embellishment behind this flag shaped tab. This is a envelope I made from some botanical book pages, backed with tea stained paper, and in the pocket is a vintage cigarette card, and there is a vintage stamp on it as well. So that just tucks behind there. And then coming to the central portion here, sorry, I'm getting myself all caught up. There we go. So lots of goodies in here. There is an altered vintage slide. So I've done a photocopy of a bird on some vellum. So that goes in there. In this little pocket, this little glassine envelope, I've put in some tiny pieces. I'm not sure if you can see those, are jigsaw pieces with a little snippety fabric and paper snippet on the top. In this glassine pocket there are some tiny tags just like these ones on the top that I've used as part of the embellishment, and as I say, they're all in the same paper as the folio is. Then I made some tiny little whale tail tabs just like this, the one that's on the top, again out of the paper collection. Then there is a vintage button card that I made, and this is one of the Ranger plastic flowers, just for a bit of interest. There is a specimen tag that I've made, and again this is a fern out of my garden with some remnant rubs on, and then some more of those tiny little tags. I love using those tags, they're very sweet. Then we have, there's a photo frame in here for you to use. And then there is this book page. This is French, vintage French book page. And I've made it into a little tiny envelope and decorated it with some washi, just very simply because again, my idea was for you to embellish this further for your own journal. It's got a vintage button, mother of pearl button on the front, and some twine. And then inside you have some frame die cuts. You have some little raggedy edged embossed squares, which are lovely for putting your embellishments on. And these frames, I use one of them as the inside of this little book as a tuck spot, but you can use them actually as frames. I just think they give a nice little sweet idea of what you can do with them. And then, as I say, these are from the kit as well, or from the paper collection. And then I've done some more die cuts here, and these are all tabs. So you can use these as labels, or if you fold them in half, they make really nice page tabs on the edge of your journal pages. So I think there's either 6 or 8 of each of those in this little envelope. And then there is this little file folder. This is a stamped piece of fabric. There's a letter, a little metal letter on it, and that's what that looks like. And then inside there's a couple of lace pockets down each side. Here there's a spool of vintage French linen thread, and then more paper and die cuts and tabs in here from the kit. In this pocket there are some of the larger true whale tail tabs, again in the kit, and some more embellishment pieces from the kit for you to use. I keep on saying kit, sorry, I don't mean kit, I mean the paper collection. Okay, so that's all in that little mini file folder. Then this is a tag or journaling card that I made with more of the vintage lace, a big jumbo eyelet, and then you can write on the back, or just cover it if you will, if you wanted to, with some tea stained paper, and use that as a journaling spot. So that's everything that's in this one, and what I'm very quickly going to do is pop it all back in some semblance of order. There's actually quite a knack to getting everything in these so that you can close them, because there's so much inside them, so many bits and bobs inside. But I wanted them to be nice and full, because if you were going away and you wanted to use this as a carry case, then you'd want as many bits and bobs to take with you as you could manage to get for journaling whilst you're away. Simple as that. So that's this one, and that just clips on the top there like so. The bottom folds up, this comes down, and it just wraps around like so with this sari silk. That goes in the back pocket, and then this clips on the side. I mean, these are all things that you can take off and use in your journals if you didn't want to make this as a journal. So that's that one, and this one, as I say, was number 5, and the listing details are down below for the listings in my Etsy shop. So this folder was number 5, and this one here is number 2, and on the second token it has the word love. This clips off the side as before. This is a removable paper clip, again slightly different from the first one. There's a little press stud there, a coilless, rusted coilless safety pins, some stamped fabric, and again this one is tied with sari silk, ivory coloured sari silk. This one's, the sari silk on this one is not attached, it's just loose. This is vintage French lace. There is some collaging on the front of this one. Sorry, I'm off screen there. And I also put some more lace here and some linen on the spine of this one, and more collaging there. Flip it over, and on the back of this one there is not a fabric pocket or a lace pocket. There is a raggedy edged torn piece of cardstock which I've inked round. The file folder is in the back pocket on this one, and that's the back of it, again trimmed with linen. Flip it over, that's what the front looks like, and that's the little tab, if you can see. Let me flip it round that way. Is that better? There we go, you can probably see that's a little bit better. And then inside, the same as the previous one, die cuts from the paper collection. There's some bits and bobs there. Large whale tail tabs, the French spool or the spool of French linen thread. There's some paper there, and beautiful green butterfly, and there's some more tabs tucked away in the back there. So quite a few bits and bobs just in this little thing alone. But if you're like me, when I go away, I can never decide what to take with me. So if I've got something like this with lots and lots of little bits in, then that's brilliant. So this goes in the back pocket. I just tend to flip it over and put it in that way. It just seems to want to sit in there a little bit better. And going inside, oh, this is the envelope that goes with that one. This one has the vintage lace trapped inside the envelope. That was the one that had all the sari silk fluff attached to it. And nothing in these envelopes, they're just decorative pieces, but you can use them as envelopes. And as I say, this is really is antique lace. It was just a small strip that I had that I managed to chop up into 8 small portions this size. No, actually it was 6. I think it was 6 portions, and that's why I ended up having to use a couple of envelopes with the dried ferns out of my garden in them instead of lace. Okay, so that's that one. And then going inside, very much similar to the other one, there is a collection of 1, 2, 3, 4 tags at the top that go in that pocket. There is a tag that I've made with some vintage book page that slips into a little pocket just there, and there is a playing card that fits in the other side of the pocket up there. And then same as before, going down to the bottom, there's a little pocket down here with some ephemera pieces in. And these are all Ranger ephemeras or ephemera pieces. A rusted safety pin on some linen there. A couple of playing cards and one of those transparencies. I really like these. And I really enjoyed sewing around them, I have to say. And then this flips open. We've got one of these botanical tags and a cigarette card. These are true vintage cigarette cards, and they're in little glassine envelopes with stamps on them. So that goes in there. The raggedy snippety thing that I slow stitched on, I've done another one. There's one in all of these. This one just goes in this little side tuck here, and there's little French knots here and then more colonial knots, and again backed with tea stain paper. There's a Tim Holtz film strip there and some German book page there. And then coming down here, let's get that back in frame. I'm going to try bringing you down a little bit if that's all right with you. I think you might be able to see a bit better. There's another one of these fabric and lace paper clips. Again, another crocheted flower, or a couple of them. Then all these Tim Holtz ephemera pieces, and then there's some more French flashcards that go in here. So there's lots of bits in here for you to play with in your journals. And that's stitched on to an envelope here and then trimmed with lace at the bottom. This opens out, and in the pocket at the side here there's a big piece of faux ledger paper from the paper collection. And then the same sort of thing here. This is a vintage slide that we've got birds on the wire there that I've covered with vintage German book pages. Tiny little tags again, and tiny little jigsaw pieces. I love these for using them as charms on the edge of tags and things like that. There's another specimen tag there, and then my fabric, stamped fabric, is on this tag. There's some mini whale tail tabs in here. This one hasn't got a button card on because quite frankly I ran out of buttons, but I've put these little Ranger flowers on, and these are lovely, and they're so easy to alter if you just drop a few droplets of alcohol ink on them. But that's just a little card there. A little piece of ephemera there. Another tag or journaling card that I made with some more of the vintage lace on. This is a little envelope that I made with coffee stained paper and stamped it, and inside there is this little booklet that I made, and there's 3-hole pamphlets stitched down the side, and then it opens up like so, and there's just little pieces of coffee stained paper inside. It's all blank inside, but it's so cute. I love making little tiny booklets, and although I tea stain my paper normally, I loved how this coffee staining came out. So that's that little booklet there, and it just gets tucked away inside that little envelope. And then again, another one of these French book page envelopes. Ooh, that's just come loose. Just bear with me a second. I've just obviously this was a sticker. Oops, the daisy. Is it going to come out? Yeah. Whoa, got too much there. This was a sticker. I've got some Alice in Wonderland stickers that look like stamps, and they just were perfect in terms of colour for these, so I didn't glue it down, and that's obviously a lesson to be learnt, because obviously the stickiness of the sticker isn't sufficient to hold it in place. I have glued the washi, which again is 49 a market washi, to go with the kit or the paper collection, but I didn't with that. And then just going on here, as before, you've got your frames, you've got your little embossed squares, and these labels which you can use as tabs or labels, and again all matching from the paper collection. So you can have, if you decide to use the covers as journal covers, then you have all these goodies inside to use as your embellishment for your journal, and it will match and coordinate with your journal cover. So there we go. That's these two. As I say, they're slightly different from the other three that I will show in the next video, but I just wanted to show these ones first. As I say, I did have a few more that I was going to show you, but as I say, they've already gone. So if you want, you can probably see them in the sold listings in my Etsy. But they're not available for sale, I'm afraid. So there we go. That's this one, and this one is number 2. So I'll leave you there, and I will see you in a moment or two with the second video of the next 3 of these folios that I've got available in my Etsy shop. Thanks so much, everybody, for bearing with me, and take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.